Hi everyone, welcome back to the next video on this channel where we are going to discuss about how we can run UiPath on Mac. Before directly jumping into the video, I want to tell you upfront two things so that you guys know that what exactly are we expecting in this video. So first thing first is that we cannot use the UiPath Studio onto the Mac. We can use something which is called Studio Web, which is a web version of UiPath Studio which works on the browser, and we can run the cross-platform automation using UiPath Assistant, which is also known as UiPath Robot. That component is installed onto your Mac. Okay. In case if you are looking for a full version of the UiPath Studio, you want to do a UI automation, you would need to switch back to the Windows version of UiPath Studio. That means you need a Windows machine. In case you are looking for the Windows tutorial, I have already posted it on the channel. You will find the video link into the description. Okay, so into the Mac, these are the things which we can do. Okay, now with that, let's go to the agenda for today's video. This would be the overall agenda, more or less. We are going to see what actually we can do on Mac, what is the recommended setup, prerequisite. I'm going to do it step by step onto my Mac so that you guys can also follow up. We would need a automation cloud account of UiPath. I'm also going to create that, and we are going to run a small automation with UiPath Assistant so that the complete setups get completed and you guys have a base setup so that you can just go and try more and more automation, right? So this would be my agenda for today. All of this has a timestamp, guys. This is available into the description. At any point of time, if you find me that I'm taking more time into one of these sections, just go to the timestamp, click on the timestamp, and the video should navigate there, right? My idea is to cover it for all the beginners, so just bear with me. In case you want to skip, just click on the timestamp. Okay, now with that, what exactly is possible on Mac? The first thing first is we can always install UiPath Assistant. When I talk about UiPath, we have three major components: Studio, Orchestrator, and Assistant. So yes, Assistant is available onto the Mac OS and can also run the attended cross-platform automations. Okay. Now, the second thing is we can connect our Mac robot, which is UiPath Assistant, to Orchestrator, and which are automations are published to the orchestrator can be triggered from the macOS provided they are cross-platform automations. Okay. The third thing is we can use UiPath Studio Web to build the code, and definitely you can always utilize all the templates, all the low code, everything whatever is available in Studio Web, that is still available for you here as well. Okay. And lastly, we can also run the automations which we have created on the Mac Studio Web, or in other words Studio Web, and you can also use it to trigger on Windows, Linux, serverless. So all of that happens. The only caveat is that you should have the automation created as cross-platform automation and not a OS dependent automations. Okay, so these are the things which are possible onto the Mac. Okay, let's go to the next one. The next one is, today, if I have to install and kind of start running with UiPath onto my Mac, what do I need? First thing first, definitely you need a Mac OS which is greater than this version, 10.15 Catalina. Second thing is you need to have a UiPath Automation Cloud Account. That give you a setup which you need to download, and that also will give you Orchestrator where you are going to deploy, right? I'm not going into details of UiPath because that's already covered on the channel. You have a lot of content there, but you need to have an Automation Cloud account. Again, you need Orchestrator to publish and run automation if it is a cross-platform as well. And lastly, in case you are trying to do some browser kind of automation, you would need to install those extensions into the Mac. And lastly, you need to know that what kind of Mac you are using today. So Mac has two set of variances and UiPath has two setups. So it is important for us to know that which kind of Mac I am using. Okay. And to do that, it's absolutely simple. If your chip is like M1, M2, M3 and M4, you are into the Apple Silicon, And if your processor is something like Intel or something, your processor or the chip says Intel, then definitely you are onto the Intel Mac, right? So the first thing is you need to have all of this more or less you should have it. If not, then we are going to anyways do it. But these are the prerequisite checklists that we require. Okay, now first thing, let me quickly show you how you can check your Apple chip. I consider that some of us might be beginner and not everybody has this knowledge. So let me quickly show it to you. Then we'll go to UiPath Cloud, create an account, download it, and then see how it goes. Okay, so that would be the checklist. Okay. Okay, so now let me quickly show you where exactly can you check the which version of the Mac you have. For that, you just have to go to your MacBook, go to the About, and there you see that I am using the chip which is Apple M4. So that means I am on to the Apple thing. If you are something with Intel, that means you are on to the Intel side of it. Why do we need it? Because this is required to download the correct set of the version from the Automation Cloud. Okay, so that was the thing. Okay. Now you go to the browser and let's try to go to the website which is cloud.uipath.com. Okay, so this is the place where you would have to actually create an account. In case you don't have an account, just go and create a new account. I don't want to use my existing one because we want to create it for fresh. So I'll just say here and I'll say sign up with another account. Now onto this screen, it is going to ask you that create a organization. So next you have to provide some details. You have to provide your region, where are you currently located. I am located right now in UK. My business name is, let's say, SDNT, something like this, and let's say I'm a manager here. I want to have this updates and I just say next. And then what is the data region? For me it's Europe, so you can select anything, and then you can read about it, what region you should select, and then I just say create an organization. Okay, so first time when you are actually going here, you would just go and create this, and it is going to set up the cloud account for you, which is into the cloud.uipath.com. okay, now once you are into the account, you would have something onto the left side which is called the download center. Into the download center, you would have these options here. One is the enterprise trial and one is the community edition. We are trying to do with the free version, so I'll go with the community edition. Into the community edition, onto the side, you would see that you have orchestrator, and then you have something which is called assistant for macOS community version, and then you have two hyperlinks here. I am using the M4 chip, so for me it's Apple Silicon. I click on that and that should download the DMG file for me. Once that DMG file is downloaded, you just install it. Okay, now into the downloads, your UiPath Assistant would be downloaded successfully, and double click on it and you should see this. You just have to drag it to the applications, right, and that should actually start installing UiPath Assistant on your machine. Okay, so now all you have to do is just double click on UiPath Assistant, right? It is asking that is an app downloaded from internet. Are you sure you want to open it? Yes, we want to do it, and that should open this. Okay, so by default this is not connected. So right now you can see that this assistant is not connected. Here it says it is not connected. There is no user which is available. All you have to do is just go here and click on get started. Okay, and that will automatically take you to cloud.uipath.com. okay, so I just say here allow. Okay, make sure that you open this account into the same login which we have used, right, so that it's automatically get connected. So right now if I just go here, and then you can see here this is my organization and this is the tenant, right, SDNT, that is the thing which I created, SDNT default tenant. You always has an option to change that by going to the preferences. All of that you can still do here, but now you can see that cloud.platform.com is connected, and that's how my robot is now available for me to utilize. Okay, I'll just say reload, and you can see that it is saying that you don't have a license for this. Let me just quickly go to the preferences. Okay, and yeah, you can see that orchestrator is connected and this is connected and license, right? If you are facing this, no worries, we'll try to fix this as well. Okay, now back to my UiPath here, into my admin, right? this is the tenant which we just created. Okay, into this you have something which is called services, and into the services you have orchestrator which we just utilized. Okay, now if I go back to this main thing which is the SDNT, there you have something which is called licenses, right? So into the licenses you can see that you have all these licenses which are available. You have pro licenses, basic user, express user, and all of this is available. And then there is something which is called license allocation to the users, right? So I want to run some of the things, so I want licenses, so I'll just say allocate the licenses. Okay, and then you just search the name of the user, which is this. For me this is this Mukeshkala, and what I want to give to this users, I want to give him the pro license or maybe the plus, you can decide this. And then I just say save, and license allocated successfully to Mukesh. So Mukesh is a plus as well as pro. Okay, now if I go back to my assistant and hit a quick refresh, that error is gone, and now you can see that your assistant is showing you that you have this thing ready, right? Now here you would see that as soon as you have allocated the license, you would see that the studio web is coming up. You click on that and it will automatically redirect you to the same page, which is studio web, right? Which was the same thing which you were getting into the 9.studio. Okay, now meanwhile onto the 9 dots you would have two components which are important. One is orchestrator. You click on that, and that is the orchestrator where you are going to run, trigger all of your automations, right? And then you would have something which is called studio. It is not your classic UiPath studio, this is the studio web. So in case if you are working on Mac, you would have to utilize something which is called UiPath studio web. I don't have any projects here. I'll just go and create a new project. Okay, there are a lot of things guys which we can do on studio web, right? So I have a dedicated tutorial, kind of a, I guess, one single video which I have created on studio web. That was a session which I was giving to students. Just watch that video and see all of that you can do. You can read data from Excel, you can do some web automation, you can fill forms, you can pass the data, variables, you can connect different components, studio, integration services. A lot of the things are there which you can still do with the studio web as well. Okay, and the best part is the automation creator on studio web can be open in UiPath Studio and vice versa as well. Okay, provided they are platform compatible. Okay, create a new project. Let's create an maybe an RPA project. Leave everything to the default settings. I'll just go add a log message. This is the log message activity. I'll just say this is an info level log, and I'm just going to mention here that this is from the macOS. Okay, something like this. Okay, so this is a message which I have just created. If this works as expected, the idea is that we should be able to see this message into the UiPath Assistant, right? Not doing anything fancy here, just trying to have a log message here. Okay, once that is done, I'll simply go here and I'll say publish. Okay, so let's try to publish this. The publish is solution. I'm trying to publish it to my workspace. You can publish it to anywhere. I'm trying to do it on the my workspace, right? And then I just say publish. Okay, depending on which kind of setup you are using, are you using a tenant or whatever setup, just feel free to deploy it, right? Deployment again is a different story. Already we have a lot of content there, so again not spending much time there. Okay, so yes, you can see that this version is now deployed like 17 seconds ago. I'll go back to the orchestrator. Okay, I'll go back to the orchestrator and into the orchestrator, which is here, into my workspace, right? Into the processes. I don't have any process yet. Click on add process. Select the package, which is the solution RPA workflow, right? And I'll just say next, next. I do not want the healing agent because we have nothing to heal. It's a simple process. Leave everything to the default setting, and I'll just say create, and I'll just, for now I'll just say close. Okay, so that's how you have created a process, and that process is available now to be triggered. Okay, now once the process is created, okay, go back to your UiPath Assistant And into the UiPath Assistant, you have the things which are available. We just created this RPA workflow. I'm just going to say how to run this automation. I'll say yes. And I'll just say it's a demo automation. I don't want to see that. I just say install. Okay. I'm simply downloading the package of the process which I created on orchestrator to this. You can always deploy it from the orchestrator as well, but this is the easiest, right? Right now I have deployed this onto the personal workspace. That's why it is directly available for me, because I am using the same account, and this is the same account and the tenant. However, if you have deployed it to a different folder, maybe a shared folder or something else, or to a tenant, then you would have to make sure that you bring that automation here and you actually configure your machine, allocate the licenses. All of that is the management of the orchestrator, right? So once all of that is done, same like you are triggering any automation, you should be able to trigger it from the assistant as well. So I go back to the assistant, and yeah, let's try to run this, starting the RPA workflow. Okay, that was quick, ended in 5 seconds. I think history, yeah, this one. Oh, it went quick. I wanted to see the logs. Where are the logs? Okay, let's try to run it again. Yeah, job started processing and it completed, right? So I can see the robot logs, and here it is. This is from the macOS, right? So basically I created an automation onto the Studio Web, deployed, and I'm able to run it from the assistant as well. Okay, so that's how you are actually able to code the automation in Studio Web, deploy the package, run it back from the UiPath assistance which is installed onto the Mac, right? There are a lot of things, guys, which we have not covered today, like setting up the licenses and all, tenant and all, right? Because we have already done that. The idea here was to help you get started. So since now you have this, you can just go and try to create automation on Studio Web, run it, deploy it, and see how does it behave. Okay. Now with that, let's try to discuss what is not possible, or in other words, what are the limitations for the Mac. You cannot install UiPath Studio directly onto the Mac OS, which we have seen. I can only install one component, which is the assistant. Okay. On the Mac, assistant only shows and run the cross-platform automation hosted on the orchestrator. Local feeds are not supported, right? So when you're actually providing the feed, you can also provide local feeds. People who have done the Windows automation, you might know this. So local feeds are not supported onto the Mac assistant. Some assistant features are not available, such as into the Windows version, you have something which is called picture-in-picture and the diagnostic tool that you would have not seen into the Mac Studio. However, other features like autopilot and others are available. Now, for browser automation on Mac, you need to have the Chrome extension and it must be enabled manually after install. Okay, so just remember if you are trying to do a UI automation. So these are some of the limitations which today we have if you are trying to work with a Mac on this system. So today, most of the things are available onto the Studio Web. I am not sure if you guys know this or not, that UiPath has now something which is called the solution management, where you can actually use Maestro, Agent Builder, human, robots, all of them together into one solution package, and all of this, including the API workflow, runs directly from the Studio Web. So till the time you have a dependency where you want to use the Studio version into the desktop, you do not actually want to have this thing, right? So a lot of the things can be done with the Studio Web. If in case you are new to Studio Web, I have a dedicated playlist where I am exploring the Studio Web. And in case if you want to explore the solution management also, I am right now creating the content on solution management. Everything works on web, so you should be able to follow along that tutorial as well, right? So that is how you get started with the Mac, guys. I will try to wrap this video here. Thank you for watching. Any more questions, any more doubts, feel free to write in the comments. I'll appreciate your feedback on the content, and see you in the next one. Thank you for watching and happy automation. Bye.